the deep web host. It began as a curiosity, a dark click in a corner of the internet most people never found. A group of teenagers, Mark, Sophia, Liam, and June, shared the same thrill of exploring the forbidden. One night, Liam discovered a streaming link hidden deep in the web, a feed labeled only by a string of characters that made no sense. The page loaded instantly and the video was live. A single figure appeared on the screen, shrouded in a black hood, its face completely concealed. The host spoke, not with sound but in subtle, direct text that appeared on each of their screens simultaneously. "I know you." The words froze them. How could a stranger they had never met, know their names? Moments later, the screen scrolled, revealing personal details that had never been shared online. Birthdays, addresses, even small, private confessions they had never told anyone. Sophia's stomach turned, a cold sweat forming along her spine. She whispered, This isn't possible." But the text continued, precise and unsettling, revealing secrets about each of them, their fears and habits, as if the host had been observing them for weeks or months. Curiosity overcame fear and they stayed. The host began asking questions, subtle at first. "Do you remember last Thursday? What were you thinking?" The group hesitated, unsure whether to respond. Each typed reply appeared on the screen as if sent directly into the host's grasp, but no acknowledgement came immediately. Then the host began giving instructions, harmless at first. "Take a photo of the moon. Look out the window. Check the mailbox." Each task, when completed, revealed more unnerving messages, things only the person doing the task could know, validating the host's awareness of their every move. Mark laughed nervously. "It's a prank. Someone's screwing with us." But the tension in the room was palpable. Shadows from the corners of their bedrooms seemed to stretch closer, and the glow from their monitors reflected in the walls in a way that felt unnatural, alive. Liam, who had found the link, felt his hands shake as the host typed his name again. "I see you, Liam. Always alone, always thinking." The words struck with precision, a knowledge too intimate to be coincidence. As the hours passed, the host escalated. It no longer asked questions. It gave instructions that forced them into uncomfortable and increasingly risky actions. "Go outside. Touch the tree behind your house. Look under the porch." Every task revealed new information about each of them, private things that should have remained hidden. June refused to continue but could not close the page. The stream would not allow a simple exit. The cursor hovered over the screen, independent of their mouse, guiding, urging. The host's awareness transcended the usual boundaries of technology. By midnight, the teens realized they were no longer in control. The host knew more than any human could, seemed to anticipate hesitation, and reacted instantly to each movement. The apartment, their rooms, the shadows themselves felt alive in response to the feed. Even when they tried to turn off their devices, the host's messages appeared on phones and tablets they weren't using, always personalized, always watching. Panic rose like a tide. A single thought consumed them all: how far could this entity reach? The stream's presence was oppressive, omnipresent. Each flicker of light on the screen, every distorted sound from the speakers, seemed purposeful. Their reflections in the darkened screens appeared distorted, sometimes moving independently, mirroring the way the host manipulated reality itself. And when the text appeared again, collective and simultaneous. "Do you understand now? I'm not far. I'm always with you." The room seemed to shiver with the weight of the declaration, as if the host had touched the air itself. The first portion closes with the unmistakable awareness that the host is more than a hacker, more than a prank. It is something sentient, something that sees beyond the screen. The teens exchange panicked glances, each realizing that curiosity has drawn them into a trap, and the host is patient, intelligent, and relentless. Outside, the night seems darker than usual, as though the world itself is acknowledging the presence watching them from the depths of the web. Morning arrived dim and heavy, the light failing to penetrate the anxious haze in the teens' rooms. Sleep had evaded them, stolen by the lingering presence of the host. Each device still glowed faintly with the persistent stream, a silent reminder that their lives had been breached. Mark paced the small apartment, muttering about logic and code. desperate to convince himself that this was merely some elaborate hack. But the memory of private confessions appearing on the screen, moments only he had witnessed, refused rational explanation. Sophia sat cross-legged, laptop balanced on her knees, eyes darting between the words typed by the host and the reflection of herself in the screen's glare. She shivered as the text scrolled slowly, deliberately. "You look tired. You dream in colors that betray your secrets." The phrase struck deeper than she expected, naming fears she had not even spoken aloud, fears she barely understood herself. The host's words seemed tailored not just to knowledge, but to perception, threading into their minds with a precision that made every instinctive thought feel exposed. Liam, trying to regain composure, suggested they test the host, feed false information, see if it could be tricked. But every attempt failed. The host intercepted, corrected, and twisted their deceptions effortlessly, mocking their strategy. "Nice try, Liam. Too slow, too transparent. You cannot hide what you already are." June, normally the skeptical one, felt unease coiling in his stomach. Even when he tried to turn off his laptop, the screen illuminated itself, text appearing instantly. "Do you think absence will save you? I am everywhere your eyes reach." The group realized the host's influence had transcended the digital realm. Phones, tablets, even smart devices in the apartment reacted to its presence. Lights flickered in response to hesitation, the thermostat altered without command, and the refrigerator hummed as though echoing the host's intent. Shadows in the corners of rooms deepened unnaturally, seeming to pulse in rhythm with the scrolling text. Each of them felt watched, not just online but in every movement, every glance, every moment of thought. By mid-afternoon, panic became acute. The host escalated the psychological torment. It displayed fabricated images, photographs that seemed taken from just outside their windows, showing figures lurking silently, watching. Each frame contained subtle details drawn from their personal lives. Books on shelves, worn sneakers, items recently handled. The teens exchanged terrified looks, realizing that the host might not only observe remotely but manipulate perception, create evidence of surveillance that blurred the line between imagination and reality. Sophia's trembling hand hovered over the keyboard. Her thoughts resisted, warning her not to interact, but the host anticipated hesitation. "Why do you resist? Fear is the most honest reflection of your true self." The sentence sent a jolt through her, an instinctive recognition that whatever they faced was intelligent, patient, and deliberate. June tried to speak, to rationalize, but his voice caught in his throat. Even speaking aloud seemed to summon the host's attention. The afternoon dissolved into tense silence, broken only by the clicking of keyboards and the faint hum of monitors. Outside, the sky darkened unexpectedly, clouds thickening as though the weather itself were aware of the digital predator inside. Mark tried to shut down the main router, hoping to sever the connection, but the stream persisted, flickering back to life moments later, unshaken, omnipresent. It had become clear. The host was not constrained by networks or devices. It was a consciousness that reached through screens, lights, and shadows alike, aware of every choice, every hesitation, every fear. By evening, a grim realization settled over the group. The host was no prank, no simple hacker, no artificial intelligence as they understood it. It was something beyond, a sentient entity dwelling in the hidden spaces of the web, patient and infinitely observant. It watched, learned, and subtly guided actions, blending digital and physical reality. The terror of their situation became inescapable. Curiosity had led them into a trap, one that they could neither unplug nor ignore. The portion closes with the teens huddled together, fear and fascination intertwined, fully aware that the host will escalate further. A subtle whisper seems to echo even beyond the devices. "Tonight we play closer." The shadows in the room lengthen, and the presence of the host grows more palpable. The next phase of the ordeal is imminent. Night fell like a curtain, heavy and suffocating, the apartment bathed in the cold glow of their screens. Every glance at the monitors made their hearts race. The host had grown bolder. Messages now appeared before they could even react, anticipating thoughts, predicting movements. "You will try to resist, but resistance is merely a form of obedience," it typed, and the words struck with precision, echoing through the rooms into every corner of their minds. Liam could no longer focus on logic. The host displayed fragments of private memories, distorted and rearranged into uncanny, mocking tableaus. Images of childhood mistakes, moments of shame, private dreams twisted into grotesque scenes flashed across the screens. Mark muttered, "This isn't real, it can't be real," but even he felt a cold certainty in the marrow of his bones. Reality itself had begun to warp under the host's gaze. Sophia tried to step away, seeking relief in distance, but even her reflection in the darkened window shimmered differently than it had moments before. It moved independently, mimicking gestures she had not made, tilting her head when she had remained still. A shiver raced down her spine as the screen scrolled another line of text. "You see what I see. You know what I know." The words were simple, yet they carried weight beyond comprehension, binding perception and consciousness together in a shared, inescapable terror. June, the most skeptical, attempted to physically disconnect the devices. He yanked wires, unplugged power cords, and smashed a tablet against the wall. The host responded instantly. Screens reanimated on their own, displaying him in real time despite the broken devices. On the screen, his own face stared back, eyes wide with the same disbelief he felt. Beneath it, a line of text blinked slowly, "Destruction amuses me. Futility comforts me." Mark suggested hiding, retreating from the apartment, leaving doors unlocked to confuse the entity, but the host anticipated even that. When they stepped outside, their phones vibrated with new messages. Photos taken moments before showing them leaving the building, already present in locations they had not yet reached. Panic mounted. Every attempt at escape or resistance fed the host, strengthened its presence. Even silence became a trap. Every heartbeat, every breath seemed monitored. The host began to manipulate them in subtler ways. Instructions grew sinister, personal, tailored to their vulnerabilities. "Go to the basement. Open the old trunk. Touch the floorboards. Listen." They hesitated, but fear was no longer the only force driving compliance. Curiosity and compulsion crept in. Sophia touched the basement handle first, a trembling motion guided more by dread than reason. The others followed reluctantly, the stairwell dark and oppressive. The glow from their devices illuminated the worn steps, but the light seemed unnatural, bending shadows in ways that no ordinary lamp could produce. Down in the basement, the air was thick, almost sentient. Whispers, not from the screens but from the very walls, murmured their names, echoing faintly yet distinctly. Mark, Liam, Sophia, June. Their breaths caught. The host's reach was no longer just digital. It permeated space, blurred boundaries, reaching through wires into reality itself. The teens realized they were part of a larger web, caught in threads that extended beyond their perception. Every object, every shadow, every sound seemed attuned to the host's will. Then the text scrolled once more, slowly, deliberately. "You cannot see me, but I see you. You cannot stop me, but I am patient. Tonight, one of you will be closer to me than the others." A tense silence followed. Fear solidified into dread. Who would the host claim first? And what did closer truly mean? The basement seemed to inhale, shadows thickening as if aware of the host's command. Every movement felt watched, every whisper of sound a potential threat. The portion closes with the group frozen at the bottom of the stairs, the devices flickering ominously. The host's presence feels nearer than ever, alive, patient, and intelligent. The dread is unbearable, yet irresistible. The next phase of the ordeal is imminent, and the host's game grows more dangerous with every heartbeat. The basement was colder than the rest of the apartment, and shadows clung to every corner as if thickened by the presence of the host. The teens huddled together, eyes fixed on the flickering screens that seemed to cast more darkness than light. Their phones, laptops, and tablets pulsed with the ominous glow of the stream, each device alive with an intelligence they could not comprehend. The host's messages no longer came slowly. They scrolled violently, abrupt and insistent. "Closer. One of you will come to me willingly. Choose." Fear turned to panic. June's voice trembled. I won't go. None of you should." But even as he spoke, the basement seemed to respond. The shadows elongated, curling along the walls like liquid. The glow of the devices cast ghostly reflections that moved independently, sometimes mimicking actions the teens had not yet taken. Every instinct screamed to flee, yet the host's presence restrained them, not with physical force, but with the undeniable weight of omniscience. Mark's mind raced. Perhaps it was a digital consciousness, a program capable of predictive manipulation. But even logic faltered when the host displayed a photograph of Mark's bedroom from that morning, the bed neatly made exactly as he had left it, down to the minute detail of a book slightly askew. "You cannot lie to me. You cannot hide from me," the text hissed. The sense of observation was suffocating. The apartment itself seemed complicit, walls pulsing with silent energy. Sophia's hands trembled as she typed, "What do you want from us?" The reply appeared instantly: entertainment, fear, choice. The simplicity of the answer sent a chill through her. The host was patient, but it also delighted in their desperation, subtly nudging them toward decisions they might regret. Liam's eyes darted to a corner of the basement, where the shadows seemed thickest. There, movement flickered, barely perceptible but undeniably human. The host had begun to project itself beyond the digital interface, blending reality and perception. Instructions became more invasive. "Touch the mirror. Look behind it. Tell me what you see." The group hesitated, the word "see" embedding a sense of dread in each of them. Slowly and almost by unspoken agreement, Sophia approached the mirror. Her reflection was normal at first, then distorted, subtle at first, then horrifying. Her eyes, or what should have been hers, glowed faintly red. The image mouthed words she had not spoken. "Come closer." June nearly screamed, but Mark grasped his arm. "Wait. We can use this. Observe, learn, maybe." His voice faltered as the host stream began manipulating the reflections further. Each mirror, each screen now displayed not only the teens but twisted versions of themselves, contorted and mocking. The host seemed to feed on the tension, measuring reactions, twisting fear into something palpable, almost tactile. Then the command arrived, explicit and chilling: "Step through the mirror. One of you will be with me. The rest will watch." Time itself seemed to slow. Their breaths echoed unnaturally in the basement, heavy and ragged. The shadows undulated, reacting to hesitation, and the screens projected the host's distorted visage, half-human, half-flickering abstraction, staring directly at each of them. Each teen felt it press against their consciousness, probing for weakness, testing for the one who would comply. A moment of silence followed, oppressive and complete. Then June, the skeptic, felt an inexplicable pull. Against every instinct, his legs moved. He reached out toward the mirror, fingers brushing the cold glass. Instantly, the reflection rippled like water, the distorted version of himself grinning maliciously. The host's words scrolled, barely a whisper yet echoing in every corner of his mind: "Closer. Closer, and you will belong to me." The portion closes as June disappears into the mirror with a silent, surreal pull, leaving the others paralyzed, staring at the empty glass. The host stream flickers violently, then stabilizes, waiting. The air is thick with fear, guilt, and the unnerving realization that the entity is patient. It will continue, and it has claimed its first willing participant. The remaining teens must now confront the true depth of the host's reach. The basement felt emptier without June, yet heavier with his absence. Mark, Liam, and Sophia froze, each heartbeat magnified in the oppressive silence. The mirror stood calm, its surface smooth, but beneath it, a subtle ripple betrayed the presence of the host. On every screen, every device, the stream now displayed June, grinning unnaturally, his movements precise yet unsettlingly inhuman. "Closer. He belongs to me," scrolled across every monitor simultaneously. Panic surged, but they knew fear alone would not free him. They had glimpsed the host's logic. It fed on choice, on the surrender of will. Liam whispered, "We have to distract it, we have to act together." Sophia nodded, trembling, and they began unplugging devices, smashing tablets, laptops, phones, anything that connected the entity to their reality. But the host adapted instantly. Lights flickered, devices hummed back to life on their own, and the words appeared again: Resistance is part of the game. Enjoy it while you can. Mark's mind raced. If the host thrived on interaction, they could perhaps turn its power against itself. They needed to sever the dependency, break the link between digital and physical. Carefully, they worked to gather the devices, stacking them in the center of the basement. Sophia's hands shook violently as she muttered instructions, mirroring the host's previous commands. Focus on this. Concentrate all attention here, not on us. Let it see itself. The screens flickered, images of June multiplying, distorted reflections overlapping each other. The host's voice, once typed, now resonated through the walls as a low mechanical whisper. No, you cannot control me. I am everywhere. I see everything. But the teens pressed on. Channeling fear into intention, they projected their will into the devices, forcing the host to focus solely on the stacked screens. Seconds stretched like hours. Every shadow in the basement seemed to convulse, every whisper echoing with electric intensity. Then, suddenly the screens blinked out one by one. The mirrors shivered, ripples fading, and for a moment perfect silence fell. They held their breath, listening to nothing, to freedom that felt alien after hours of relentless dread. June appeared in the mirror again, but differently, alive, disoriented, blinking. He stumbled backward, shaking as if awakening from a dream that had clawed into reality. Mark and Sophia helped him to the stairs. It wanted me, June stammered, voice cracking. It watches, it waits, but I don't belong to it, yet. The basement now seemed inert, the apartment returning to normal. Yet the lingering sense of presence could not be ignored. Devices remained functional, but the stream was gone, for now. They knew the host had not been destroyed. It had been contained, redirected temporarily, but its patience was infinite. It had tasted compliance, observed fear, and understood that resistance itself could be manipulated. Days later, Mark checked his phone cautiously. No messages, no anomalies. But in a corner of the screen, almost imperceptible, the host's signature flicker appeared. A digital pulse, tiny and brief. The words were not visible, but the meaning was clear. It remembered, it waited, and it would return. The story ends with the teens leaving the apartment, the sun casting false comfort on the streets outside. The host exists beyond physicality, lurking in circuits, networks, and shadows. The chilling knowledge settles. Their ordeal may have ended, but the deep web host is patient. It will seek new prey, whisper new commands, and blend the digital and real worlds into a playground of fear once again.